Dallas. We'll be updating that big Dallas-Washington game throughout the afternoon. But this game is underway. It's a low, wobbly kick taken on the near side by Pruitt. Pruitt back to the 15. Pruitt across the 20. Pruitt's got one man to beat. Neil O'Donoghue, the kicker, the last man between Greg Pruitt and the goal line, and the Raiders start 1st and 10 from their own 43-yard line. The Raiders and their big play offense led by the veteran Jim Plunkett at quarterback. Former Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen in the backfield along with number 33 Kenny King, and the wide receivers, and they're good ones, as you saw, Branch and Barnwell. The veteran offensive line, and they are, in a word, huge. The veteran Jim Plunkett out of Stanford, 6'2", 215. Wide receivers left and right. The lone running back is Kenny King. Powers over the left side, bowls his way up near the 46. The 5-year veteran out of Oklahoma who came over to the Raiders in a trade with the Oilers back in 1980, stacked up by Kurt Allerman, a 7-year pro out of Penn State. And talking about the defense, Doc,
Bubba Baker and Curtis Greer are capable of getting to the quarterback. They must get there today. E.J. Jr., Stefan linebacker, 3 sacks last week against the Giants. He will help. This is a secondary that's young and developing. Benny Perrin, number 23, will be around the ball all afternoon, Kelly.
Slot to the right side, motion by Marcus Allen, top of the screen, 2nd and 7. Kenny King, second consecutive carry, dives to about the 48-yard line. Allerman in there stacked him up again, helped out by E.J. Jr. in his 3rd year out of Alabama. And this is a different St. Louis Cardinal defensive unit since E.J. Jr. has returned.
E.J. Jr. is one of those linebackers. You hear about all the good ones. You hear about the Hugh Greens. You hear about the Lawrence Taylors. E.J. Jr. has that kind of ability. Of course, he was drafted number 1 in 1981 out of Alabama. Had some troubles this year, but he's back and he's playing well.
Let's see if Jim Plunkett and the Raiders will put it up. Plunkett, of course, 190 completions, 318 attempts, 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Raiders looking at 3rd and 6 now from their own 47.5-yard line. Plunkett's first pass. Here come the Cardinals. Todd Christensen, first down for the Raiders inside the 40 of the St. Louis Cardinals. Benny Perrin in pursuit, the 2nd-year free safety out of Alabama. But Todd Christensen, and what a show he put on about 12 days ago against the San Diego Chargers.
And what a year he's having. Here he drives inside, just breaks outside, away from the defensive back. Great hands, makes the reception. Coming into this weekend, he was leading the NFL in catches with 78. He's having a spectacular year. There
you see what Todd Christensen has done coming into this game. He's just caught his 79th pass as he approaches 1,050 yards. He has 12 touchdowns. Marcus Allen chopped down at the 34-yard line as the former Heisman Trophy winner, 2nd year out of USC, just down the road here in Los Angeles, in the grasp of Curtis Greer.
And Marcus Allen this year is the 7th leading rusher in the AFC. There you see his stats, not quite what he was doing last year, but Marcus is doing more things. He's a better blocker. He's making less mistakes. He's also caught 60 passes, Jim Kelly, for over 500 yards, an all-purpose back. He's also thrown some touchdowns, 3 to be exact. So a real triple threat.
Wide receivers left and right. Backs are split. Plunkett will put it up on 2nd and 6. Goes up top, wide open, Kenny King, touchdown! That is Kenny King's first touchdown catch of the season from the 34-yard line, and Kenny King, watch how badly he beats Benny Perrin on this 34-yard scoring strike.
You watch it here. He's out of the backfield. Allen is staying into block throws, a fairly decent block. Perrin just can't stay with King. He makes a good catch, takes it into the end zone, and this is what the Cardinals did not want to happen. Let the Raiders get on top, and it could be a rout.
Chris Barr, number 10, 8-year veteran out of Penn State, has missed 2 extra points this year. He's 45 of 47 out of the hold of David Humm. The Raiders, making short work, have gone on top 7-0. They scored on their very first possession, and they didn't use up very much time. Raiders on top over the St. Louis Cardinals by a score of 7-0. The Cardinals' first possession when we come back. Well, they used just 2:47 to start the first quarter, the Raiders did. They went 56 yards in just 5 plays. The last, a 34-yard scoring strike from Jim Plunkett to Kenny King. So Chris Barr will boot it from the 35. Steve Bird, who averages about 21 yards per kickoff return, is back deep, along with Willard Harrell. And Harrell fields at 7 yards in the end zone. So the St. Louis Cardinals start 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Benny Perrin beaten badly, Doc.
Jimmy, you're a defensive back. Look here. Benny Perrin bites on the play-action fakes, starts to come up. It's man-to-man coverage. He has King all the way. See, he bit on the coverage. King ran right by him. There was no chance. He was guessing at that point, and that's why he was beaten for the touchdown.
Neil Lomax brings the Cardinals out. Lomax, 178 completions, 302 attempts, completing about 59% of his passes, 20 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. First and 10, double tight end alignment. Marsh and LaFleur in there for the Cardinals. Lone running back, Otis Anderson, number 32. Play action fake. Here comes Lomax to go up top. Goes underneath instead. Otis Anderson, the safety valve man. First down for the Cardinals at the 31-yard line. Bob Nelson in there on the coverage, 7th year out of Nebraska. This is what the Cardinal coaching staff told us last night that St. Louis would have to do early in the football game, was come out throwing and try to negate the pass rush. The backfield for the St. Louis Cardinals, we talked about Otis Anderson. He only needs 5 more yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark. And the young offensive line, they've got their work cut out for them, John.
They certainly do, because they're playing against the number 2 defense in the NFL, an aggressive defense. And when you get behind, the Raiders just tee off and come after you.
Green and Tilley lined up in a slot to the left side. This is Otis Anderson, who is knocked down almost at the line of scrimmage, barely gets back to the 31. Again, Nelson, number 51, in there in the tackle defensively for the Raiders. Let's take a look now at the Raiders defense. They played the 3-4. We will be talking most of the afternoon about Howie Long, the youngster out of Villanova, but he's still growing.
And Lyle Alzado is back after an injury. He's having an excellent year. Their linebackers, the same group when they won the Super Bowl in 1980. Of course, Ted Hendricks, the leader. Defensive backs, Hayes and Haynes may be the best 2 cornerbacks in the NFL.
That is Otis Anderson, and he may get a first down. They needed about 10.5 as it was second and long yardage. And that Cardinal ground game, Alzado in there in the tackle, blocking up front by Randy Clark and by Otis Anderson. We talked about Howie Long out of Villanova. You know, he played all 4 years in Villanova, and he wore the same pair of cleats.
Howie Long is one of those defensive ends that you don't hear that much about. You hear about the Freddie Deans, the Mark Gastineaus, but Howie Long may be a more complete defensive end because he plays the run so well. He also rushes the passer. 12 sacks leads the Raiders.
Slot to the right side. Roy Green along with Pat Tilley. I pro set Morris and O.J. Anderson. O.J. knifed down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 1. Brings up second down and 9. Matt Millen, 4th-year linebacker out of Penn State, number 55, in there in the tackle for the Raiders.
Take a look at number 75, Howie Long, left side of your screen here. Watch how well he plays the run. He breaks inside, plays off his man, comes down the line of scrimmage, and gets in on the action. Tootie Robbins could have a long afternoon. Of course, Tootie Robbins only in his 2nd year out of East Carolina. A good one, but still developing.
First punt of the football game. Greg Pruitt is back deep. Carl Birdsong, who averages about 43 yards per punt. Low snap from center. Raiders are coming, and Birdsong bangs a beauty. It backs Pruitt up to the 17, loses the football, but picks it back up, and he is sandwiched down at the 23-yard line. So the Raiders, who used 247 and went 54 yards on their very first possession and scored on a 34-yard strike from Plunkett to Kenny King, will have their second possession coming up, and they have a 7-0 lead against the Cardinals. The man behind the man in the red jacket, number 32, O.J. Anderson. We mentioned coming in, he needed just 5 yards to go over the 1,000-yard mark for the 4th time in 5 years. And the 6'2", 220-pound running back, a first-round pick of the Cardinals back in '79 out of Miami of Florida, has done that so far this afternoon. Receivers are split 1st and 10, so are the running backs. Plunkett goes up top again. He's looking for Cliff Branch. He's got Cliff Branch. He beat Wayne Smith. It's another first down. And the Raiders, it's going to be a long afternoon if the Cardinals don't shore up their secondary.
Jim, one of the things the Raiders do more than any other team, most teams in the NFL, they're not a dink passing game. They like to go downtown. They have great speed on the outside, typical of the Raiders team. Here, Plunkett gets good protection and just lays it out for the speedster Cliff Branch. I don't know what Wayne Smith was doing. He bit on the fake. Long completion for Branch and the Raiders. Take a look at it again. He's got 5 yards on Smith. Benny Perrin is trying to help out. The pass is complete.
Cliff came into the game with a total of 29 catches, averaging over 18 yards per carry on 1st and 10. This is Kenny King. First down inside the 10 Raiders. No letdown. They have clinched the AFC West, and they are marching toward the playoffs.
And you may recall that Kenny King was injured on Monday night, not a week ago, and they thought it might have been serious, but it was only a jam neck. He's back, and the Raiders are certainly excited about that. Marcus Allen, Kenny King, a dynamic duo in the backfield. Nice balance.
Big blocking on the right side by Mickey Marvin, 7th year out of Tennessee, an All-American, and Henry Lawrence in his 10th year out of Florida A&M. And you look at the concern all over the Cardinal coach, Jim Hannafin. Marcus Allen behind the line of scrimmage in the grasp of Kurt Allerman, the middle linebacker, also helped out by Lee Nelson. Now, the front four of the Cardinals, John, as you know, they like to play the pass first and then react to the run, and they did it well that time.
That's what they do. Penetration is the key to the Cardinal defense. Baker, Galloway, Greer, and Grooms like to get across the line of scrimmage. That's why you won't see the Los Angeles Raiders doing much play action today, because of the penetration of that 4-3 defense. They're aggressive. They can make things happen. Washington on top of Dallas, 7-0 first quarter.
2nd and 11. Marcus Allen in motion. Frank Hawkins now the lone running back. Plunkett looks in the end zone on the post pattern. Fires it. Incomplete for Cliff Branch.
Jim, there's no defensive back in the world that can cover a receiver like Branch or a Christensen if he has that much time. We said it earlier in the show. If Plunkett is given the time, and if his big offensive line can keep the lights of Baker and Greer off him, then it's going to be a long afternoon. We need inspirational performances, if you're a Cardinal fan, from that front four. So far, we haven't gotten it.
Jim Plunkett now 3 out of 4, 103 yards passing, 3rd and 11 from the 11-yard line. Raiders need the touchdown. They can't get a first down. Branch left, Barnwell to the right side as you hear Plunkett calling signals. Marcus Allen did that on his own. He gets it down inside the 5. Benny Perrin finally made the tackle, and it'll be field goal time as Chris Barr trots on out. So the Raiders will score, if this is good, on their very first possession. This is just a chip shot for Chris Barr. 8 years, as we said, out of Penn State. He is 17 out of 23 in the field goal department. And out of the hold of David Humm, this is almost routine.
And it's interesting, David Humm is the backup quarterback. Mark Wilson a couple of weeks ago hurt his shoulder, broke his shoulder, but they say Humm is the best holder in the NFL. He's got the quick, sure hands, and that makes it easier for a kicker.
We've got a 10-0 Raider lead against the St. Louis Cardinals early in the first quarter. A 22-yard field goal by that man, Chris Barr. His kickoff coming up. The Cardinals trail by 10. The Raiders 11-3 in complete command. The St. Louis Cardinals had entertained some slim playoff possibilities. They came in at 6-7-1, but right now they have fallen behind 10-0. Willard Harrell breaks it to the 15, across the 20, down at the 22, and that's where the Cardinals will start 1st and 10, trailing 10-0. Let's find out how the Redskins scored. Let's go to New York. Here's Brent Musburger.
Jim, they scored in their typical fashion. They went to John Riggins behind a beautiful block on Michael Downs that sealed up the left side. Riggins stepped on in, his 22nd rushing touchdown of the year, 7-0. The Redskins are dominating. Back to Jim.
Thank you, Brent. Here in Los Angeles, the Raiders are dominating, as the Redskins are early in Dallas. Of course, the Cowboys' story all year long has been the comeback. That's what they did that opening game against the Redskins when they fell behind 23-3 at halftime and came back to win it 31-30. Motion, top of the screen. Neil Lomax will throw on first down. Outlet pass. O.J. Anderson's got a convoy, and Anderson barrels down to the 30-yard line in the grasp of Reggie Kinlaw, former All-American in his 4th year out of Oklahoma.
You have to take what the defense gives you. That time his receivers were covered downfield, so Lomax wisely went to Otis Anderson, who is a fine pass receiver out of the backfield, Jim. You talk about Marcus Allen having 60 catches. That's a lot for a running back. Well, Otis Anderson coming into today's game had 47 catches for almost 400 yards. He has 1 touchdown. So he's a good one. He's got good hands. He can come out of the backfield.
Double tight end alignment in there now for St. Louis. Number 80 is Doug Marsh, and number 89 is Greg LaFleur. They're all lined up strong to the right side, along with Tilley and Roy Green. Tilley comes wide, near side, bottom of your screen. Lomax will fire on 2nd and short, throws it out of bounds as the rush was put on. That front 3, Kinlaw, Alzado, coming busting through along with Howie Long. He looked in the general direction of Roy Green, and already the black and silver of the Raiders, Alzado is fired up.
As you look at Roy Green, he's expecting a long afternoon. Talking to him yesterday, he says, you know, Lester Hayes is playing me, and yes, I'm having a great year with 67 receptions for over 1,000 yards, but I know it's going to be a tough afternoon because of Hayes and Haynes, maybe the best cornerbacks in the NFL. They play a lot of man-to-man coverage, and that allows the rush to come on. It allows the Oakland Raiders to blitz and get to the quarterback. Of course, they lead the NFL in that category with 55 sacks.
Tilley to the right, Green to the left. 3rd and 1. O.J. Anderson will not get the first down. The Raiders defense is stiffened. Ted Hendricks, 214 consecutive games. He has not missed a game since he came into the National Football League way back in 1969, a second-round draft pick of the Baltimore Colts. So Birdsong will punt it away for the second time, and Pruitt is back deep. And the Raiders should come out of this again with good field position. They've scored on their first 2 possessions, a field goal by Chris Barr and a 34-yard touchdown toss from Jim Plunkett to Kenny King. Pruitt, who you're looking at right there, averaging about 12 yards per punt return. Here come the Raiders. Birdsong, high but wobbly kick. Pruitt the fair catch at the 40-yard line, and he is sandwiched down. That is number 45, Leonard Smith, who made a rookie mistake.
Leonard Smith, of course, the top draft choice in '83 for the Cardinals out of McNeese State. And Smith, I don't understand what happened to him. He just lost the presence of mind, or perhaps he didn't see the fair catch. But take a look at it again. It's clearly signal for a fair catch. His hands in the air long before Smith gets there. Smith may have been distracted by a blocker. There he makes the hit, thus the penalty. And the walk-off. So the Raiders, who have scored on their first possession, we said they'd have good field position, will have even better field position. Jim, sometimes on special teams, you're so preoccupied with doing your job and being aggressive and getting down to make the tackle that you don't see things like that. You're fighting off a blocker and you don't see the fair catch.
Interference with the fair catch, number 44, first down.
This would have to be, John, a big defensive series for the Cardinals. They've given up 10 points already. We've got 5:24 in a scoreless first quarter, scoreless just for the St. Louis Cardinals. 5:24 left to go in the first quarter here in Los Angeles. The Raiders trying for home field as far as they can go. They've already clinched the AFC West. Cardinals have slim playoff possibilities. It all starts with winning in this game. Otherwise, nothing else matters. Marcus Allen falls down. E.J. Jr. just made the tackle secure.
And you know, I had a chance to talk to Al Davis before the game, and he said to me that he thought that last year's Raider team should have gone all the way to the Super Bowl. Of course, the Jets knocked them off. So I asked him to compare this team with his 1980 Super Bowl team. He said, you know, I think this may be a little bit better, though we have lost Shell and Upshaw, 2 of the fine offensive linemen, but we've gotten Marcus Allen, and is playing as well as he did in that Super Bowl year.
From the 48 of the Cardinals, 2nd and 13. 5 defensive backs in there now for the St. Louis Cardinals, anticipating play action from Plunkett. Great drop. Here come the Cardinals. Plunkett scrambles out wide open. Marcus Allen down at the 42. He picks up a long 3.5, and it'll bring up 3rd and long for that man, Jim Plunkett. Lionel Washington, the rookie out of Tulane, the man that tackled that man, former Heisman Trophy winner Marcus Allen. For you fans back in St. Louis, that's now a final. The Bears have beaten the Vikings by 6. Chicago still has some playoff possibilities. The Vikings are out. Houston upsets Cleveland. So much for the Browns' playoff hopes. Cleveland now out of it. And San Francisco, of course, tied with the Los Angeles Rams for the top spot in the NFC West, beating Buffalo. So much for Buffalo's playoff chances. New Orleans still alive. A 3-point win in overtime against the Eagles. 3rd and 6. Underneath, Marcus Allen, first down at the 33.
And Jim, you sense Jim Plunkett is in control of this, total control of the game. And Jim Plunkett early in the year had his problems. He was banged up a lot. They replaced him with Mark Wilson. He sat for a few games. That allowed him to get healthy, and now he's comfortable and in control of the entire offense. He takes a big hit after the throw from Curtis Greer, but it's too late. The pass is complete for the first down.
That's the 6th first down picked up by the Raiders, just 1 for the Cardinals. It's 1st and 10 for the Raiders. They lead 10-0. They've got the ball at the 33-yard line of St. Louis. Cliff Branch wide to the left side. Malcolm Barnwell out to the right. Pitch back, Marcus Allen. Frank Hawkins with a block, and you can just see the gait of Marcus Allen, waiting for Hawkins to throw the block. He kind of reminds you of number 32 for the Pittsburgh Steelers there, Franco Harris. Rather than go in and barrel in and maybe take the hit and risk the knee injury, he goes out of bounds. And that, Franco has told us many occasions, has really prolonged his career.
Well, I think it was interesting in talking to Allen yesterday that he thought maybe, you know, he went through a very intensified preseason and off-season workout program, and he said he came into the season and he was actually tired, maybe burnt out early, and it's only now that he's getting his strength back and really feeling good running the ball. It's odd because you expect just the opposite.
Barnwell right, Branch to the left side. Motion by Christensen, the tight end. Marcus Allen inside the 25, approaching the 24-yard line in the grasp of Charlie Baker in his 4th year out of New Mexico. Let's go back and check in with the scoreboard. Bengals have beaten Detroit. That means for the Lions to win, they must beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' final game of the season for the Lions to win the NFC Central. Bengals in the role of spoiler. Look at that one from Dallas. The Redskins 14-0 against the Cowboys. They're playing down in Texas just the way they played at RFK Stadium. And Seattle, they've got some slim playoff hopes. They beat the Giants, who Doc is convinced quit a week ago. Inside handoff to Greg Pruitt, who hurdles down in the vicinity of the 23. If he crossed the 23, it'll be a Raider first down.
You know, Jim, you mentioned the Giants, and of course last week the Cardinals edged the Giants by a score of 10-6 in one of the worst games I think played in the NFL this year. The Giants, of course, having their problems on offense at quarterback, and the Cardinals not a great game. So when you think about the teams coming in, the Raiders on a roll, they've won 5 straight. They're getting healthy. They're bound for the playoffs. The Cardinals, sloppy win over the Giants. Their playoff hopes are slim, having a tough afternoon so far. Biggest question was whether the Cardinals would be able to get up in that kind of a situation. Apparently not so far.
Plunkett looks right corner of the end zone and went underneath to Todd Christensen, incomplete. Charlie Baker putting the pursuit on Plunkett and got to Jim back at the 33-yard line, getting up a little slowly. You talk about that Giants game, though. The Cardinals defense didn't play too badly. They only gave up 9 first downs to the Giants and only 10 completions on 35 pass attempts by New York. They had 3 sacks and 4 interceptions. And New York only got 142 yards in total offense in that game, even though it was played in poor weather. So St. Louis's defense has been coming on, but so far Plunkett has simply picked them apart.
You mentioned the as Jim Hannafin wonders along the sideline what he can do. The weather conditions had a lot to do with last week's game and the statistics, Jim. You're right.
2nd and 10 from the 22. Plunkett. Wide receivers, Barnwell right, Branch to the left. Pitch back, Marcus Allen. Kenny King with a block. Look at Marcus Allen, and what a move at the 22-yard line. Number 52 had a shot at him, Charlie Baker, and Marcus simply gave him the hip to the right side, took it away, and Cedric Mack made the tackle. Watch the hip and the move put on by Marcus Allen.
Also watch number 46 occupying number 52. See 46, Christian staying with him right there, and then a great move. You're right, exactly. Marcus Allen makes the move to the outside. Oh, he's so smooth, such a dancer.
3rd and a passing situation perhaps for Jim Plunkett. They need 4. Branch goes wide to the left. Barnwell comes out to the right side. Christensen remains the tight end. And the backs are Kenny King, along with number 32, Marcus Allen. Kenny King behind the block of Marcus Allen. First down inside the 6. And the Raiders are just in complete control of this football game.
Marcus Allen has already carried the ball 7 times for 23 yards. Kenny King is complimenting him. Take a look at it again. Offensive line doing an excellent job. They're big, they're strong, much like the Washington Redskin philosophy of, gentlemen, we're going to come at you straight ahead with our big offensive line. And here, take a look at the block that made it possible right here. Okay, that's 46, Christensen. He occupies Baker. And King just bolts on through there for a good gain.
Other blocking on that right side by Mickey Marvin and by Henry Lawrence. And it's 1st and goal for the Raiders, who are about to seal the Cardinals' playoff fate very early. St. Louis led 7-0 against the Dallas Cowboys back on Thanksgiving in Texas Stadium. Then Dallas came roaring back. St. Louis have not been a good come-from-behind team this year. Raiders lead 10-0, and they're knocking on the Cardinals' door once again. Time left in our first quarter here. It's been all the Raiders. Meanwhile, Texas Stadium, the Cowboys have the ball 1st and 10 at their own 11-yard line as they are falling behind the Redskins by a score of 14-0. It's 1st and goal here. Raiders send Cliff Branch out wide to the right side. Christensen, the tight end, backs are split. Hawkins and Marcus Allen. 1st and goal, and a 10-0 Raider lead so far. Cliff Branch ups that lead to 16-0. He beat the rookie Lionel Washington.
And Jim, Lionel Washington last week had a terrific game against the Giants. He had 2 interceptions, but this time Branch coming on motion. Take a look at the right side of your screen. You won't see him. He comes in motion. He bounces off Washington, and then Plunkett just lays it on the outside. Watch Branch. Adjustment to the ball makes the catch for the touchdown. Here, take a look at it again. He actually pushed off Washington after coming in motion. Comes back to the outside. Washington can't recover. Branch makes the reception.
And for Cliff Branch, that is touchdown reception number 4 on the year. That is Chris Barr's 5th point of the afternoon. He's got a 22-yard field goal and 2-point afters. It's a 17-0 lead for the Raiders. No letdown, and we've still got 12 seconds left to go in this first quarter.
And as you look at Cliff Branch, over the history of the Raiders, one of the reasons that they've won is they had the great outside receiver on the left side. They had Powell, and then they had Warren Wells, and they've had Cliff Branch. And that's what Al Davis told me. That's one of the reasons they win. And with Branch now healthy, coming off his pull, they're going to be ready for the playoffs.
Well, there's been only one meeting between the Cardinals and the Raiders way back in 1973. They then, of course, were the Oakland Raiders. It was a 7-point win. You can see there are 5 players on the field here today. Cliff Branch, along with Dalby and Guy. Ray Guy was just a rookie back then. 3 of them for the Raiders, and for St. Louis, Jim Hart, the veteran quarterback, along with Dan Deerdorf, who played in that game. How about the coaches? What an evolution, huh?
I know. Madden, Flores, Coryell, Hannafin, Gibbs, and 3 of those coaches have won Super Bowls. Isn't that amazing? 10 years ago.
Madden, of course, was the head coach. Tom Flores, an assistant. Coryell was the head coach of the Cardinals, and Jim Hannafin and Joe Gibbs were his assistants. This is Stump Mitchell, who fumbles the football and is in big trouble at the 7-yard line. When it rains, it pours. We've got 3 seconds left in a very poor first quarter for the St. Louis Cardinals. It'll be a long plane ride back home if this keeps up.
And Jim, I want to quickly tell you that coming into the game, we talked about the playoff possibilities for the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, they're very complicated and a little bit difficult. St. Louis would have to win their last 2 games, obviously. San Francisco or LA would have to lose 2. And Minnesota, New Orleans, Green Bay would have to split their final 2 games, thus finishing at 8-8. Therefore, the tie would play for the St. Louis Cardinals. Of course, they're losing 17-0 now, so their playoff hopes are disappearing in a hurry.
If they don't win this game, all of the tiebreakers don't matter. Chargers lead the Chiefs 10-0. O.J. Anderson barrels across the 10, breaks it to the 15, and bowls his way out of bounds at the 21. That'll give Lomax and St. Louis some breathing room. 2 touchdown tosses by Jim Plunkett, a field goal from 22 yards out by Chris Barr. 17-0, Raiders lead St. Louis.
First quarter of play. Raiders 7.
CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League is sponsored by Light Beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less. GE. At GE, we bring good things to life. And by the Champion Spark Plug Company, the performance guaranteed spark plug.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum here in Los Angeles. The Raiders lead by a score of 17-0. Cardinals have just picked up a first down. O.J. Anderson around the left side. It's 1st and 10 St. Louis from their own 21, but they've got to get something on the board, and they've got to do it quickly.
Take a look at the time of possession. The LA Raiders have had the ball over 10 minutes. St. Louis less than 5 minutes. Tough to stay in a game when you only have the ball for less than 5 minutes and a quarter. And Jim, one of the problems of playing catch-up against the Raiders is they just don't allow you to complete passes upfield. I think in the last 4 games, teams have only completed 3 or 4 passes up the field on the Raiders.
Tough to play catch-up. Just ask the San Diego Chargers. Slot formation to the left side. Tilly comes out. Now it's Green wide to the right side. Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Lomax goes airborne. Penalty flag is down. Lomax looks deep, fires underneath. Incomplete at the 30. And where's the flag down there? Looked like Tilly was bumped before the ball arrived. In the meantime, Ted Watts was the defender back there, but let's check the call.
Penalty flag on the play.
Looks like it's offsides against the Raiders. Jim, and you're right. He was bumped by Watts before the ball got there. But I think Lomax also did a wise thing. He dropped back, and then he rolled the pocket to try and get away from the big rush of Long and company and the Raiders.
Here's Fred White, the referee.
Encroachment, number 36, first down.
Jim, while we have a minute, let me just tell the folks out there that this
We don't have a
telecast...
minute.
We don't have a minute. Okay,
20 seconds.
20 seconds. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Los Angeles Raiders and the National Football League is prohibited.
1st and 5, Cardinals. Green to the right, Tilly to the top of your screen. Marsh in motion to the bottom side. Lomax goes airborne again. Goes up deep. And a badly thrown ball falls incomplete harmlessly at the Raiders' 40-yard line. Looking for Doug Marsh, the tight end out of Michigan. But Marsh was staying down on the sideline, and I think Lomax thought he was going to turn it inside.
And it's interesting, when you have such great cornerbacks like Lester Hayes and Mike Haynes covering Roy Green and Pat Tilley, they can almost cover them one-on-one. They'll also double cover them. So Doug Marsh becomes a very important factor. Now, Marsh is not the speedster that can get down the middle and go for the big touchdown, but he has the ability to get over the middle and to make the catch on a possession type of pass.
Now it's 2nd and 5 for the Cardinals. We've got 14:48 left to go first half. It's been all Raiders. O.J. Anderson will not get the first down. He is sandwiched down at the 26 in the grasp of the mad stork, Ted Hendricks. You know, some people got it real tough, even to practice. What was that he was driving?
It's interesting that we went to practice yesterday. As you take a look at Ted Hendricks holding his ground and making this play. Is Ted Hendricks, when they moved down from Oakland to Los Angeles here, bought himself a limousine because the equipment manager, the assistant equipment manager, wasn't going to get enough money for the move. Ted Hendricks said, wait a minute, I'm going to buy a limousine. I'll have this man drive it for me. So Ted Hendricks has this huge 20-foot-long limousine parked outside of practice. That's how he traveled.
It was 1st and 5. It's now 3rd and 4. How tough's that Raider defense? Penalty flags all over the place. Incomplete at the 38-yard line. Looking for Danny Pittman, number 85. Jim Hannafin said he would see a lot of action as the 3rd wide receiver this afternoon. But let's check the penalty flags. Thrown in the secondary of the Raiders. Might be defensive holding. On the other hand, it might be illegal procedure.
Penalty indicated against the Raiders.
Well, the Cardinals will pick up a first down by virtue of a penalty. First, the Raiders were offside. Now the illegal procedure. You're in trouble if you can't move the ball 5 yards in 3.
12 men on defense. First down.
I'd say that's illegal procedure.
I would say so.
And that's why the Cardinals are having so much trouble moving the ball. The Raiders have been playing with 12 guys.
The Raiders don't have to play with 12 guys. They're that good. Here, take a look. You can count them, folks. Okay, there's 3 there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Where's that 12th guy? Dallas has done that the best.
1st and 10 for the Cardinals from their own 32-yard line. That's Marsh in motion, bottom of your screen. Lester Hayes comes over and picks him up with a bump and run. Lomax, airborne, looks underneath, got it incomplete. Marsh had the ball right in his grasp, and it bounced off his chest. He had beaten Mike Davis in his 6th year out of Colorado, along with Bob Nelson, number 51, who was back there on the coverage. You know, your receivers have got to catch that kind of a pass if you're going to come back from a 17-0 deficit. If they start giving up this point of the football game, you can get on the team bus and go to the airport right now. Exactly,
because you put your offense in a situation of now having 2nd and long, and that's what the Raiders want. That's the time they can tee off and come after your quarterback. I mean, we all talk about first down being very important. It's critical for the Cardinals here today.
2nd and 10. Pitch back. O.J. Anderson's got a convoy. Barrels over his own blocker. Breaks it at the 39 as he just ran over Mike Davis. Runs out of bounds, and a penalty flag is thrown over on the Raider bench. Let's check the call again. Personal foul against the Raiders, the preliminary indication. You know, they say of the Raiders, they don't pay bonuses, they just pay bail.
I want to see that again from the end zone, Jim, because if you watch Otis Anderson, right, 222 pounds, watch him here on the right side. He actually runs over Tootie Robbins, number 63. He says, get out of my way.
Personal foul,
can't make the block.
unnecessary roughness, number 26. First down.
And get some extra yardage. Watch this late hit right there. That's the personal foul, number 26, Van McElroy.
From the 42, the Cardinals' deepest possession so far. Green to the left, Tilly to the right. 1st and 10. Lomax. Safety valves it out. O.J. Anderson looks for a block. and will have to do the rest on his own. By the time he gets done, a lot of running and pushing and shoving, but a loss of about 1.5 yards. Reggie Kinlaw and Bill Pickell, and they're the rookie Pickell out of Rutgers. How many players in the National Football League out of Rutgers?
Not too many. I can't think of any others. And Pickell is one of those young guys that's pushing Alzado. He already has 6 sacks this year. But you saw a little pushing and shoving there. So typical of the intimidation factor that the Raiders have used all throughout their history. That little extra push to distract you from what you're doing. A little extra intimidation. San Diego leading Kansas City in the second quarter by a score of 10-7.
Slot formation to the left side. Marsh, the tight end. Now he shifts it up with Roy Green, who's lined up outside Pat Tilley. 2nd and 11. Lomax goes up top, fires Roy Green inside the 20. Green down to the 16, 1st and 10 for the St. Louis Cardinals. Van McElroy back on the coverage, but Roy Green came up with a big catch for the Cardinals.
And Roy Green, with that great speed, just breaks inside on Lester Hayes, number 37. Take a look at the right side of your screen, the upper corner. There he breaks away from Hayes inside. They were in a zone. McElroy tries to help out. Take a look at another angle. They play mostly man-to-man. This time they were in his zone. Green got underneath it, and he's great after he catches the ball. He was a running back in high school, and he has terrific speed, a real burner at 4'2".
Roy Green 2 years ago was the 5th defensive back in the Cardinals' defensive secondary. He was the first player to go both ways in 2 decades of professional football. 1st and 10, St. Louis. Wayne Morris bowls his way down to the 12-yard line. Looks like the Cardinals have got something going, and it sounds like the Redskins have got really something going. Let's go back to New York. Brent, what's doing? All right, Brent Musburger, who's got a busy afternoon. Scores and highlights coming up at halftime with Brennan Irv. Meanwhile, the Cardinals looking now at 2nd and 6. Handoff to Randy Love. Randy Love cracks his way down inside the 9, stopped at the 8-yard line by Big Bob Nelson.
When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Redskins, of course, they are the elite in the NFL, but I'd have to say that the Raiders aren't far behind that team. You might include Miami as the top 4 teams in the NFL. And the reason I say the Raiders might have a good shot against Dallas and Washington is that their defense is so strong, so intimidating.
You know, you look at the black and silver of the Raiders right there, and you talk about intimidation, and I've got to go back to what Chuck Noll has told us. When the Steelers are referred to as being an intimidated team, he said, we don't intimidate anyone, you intimidate yourselves. This will be a Cardinal touchdown. There are no flags. Randy Love, and now they say his knee went down at the half-yard line.
Boy, it looked like Randy Love was going to get in the end zone.
I would say so.
6-yard gain.
Let's take another look at it if we can see. Good play by the defensive back here. There's some penetration. Love plays it off, keeps his balance. Good blocking right there by number 80, Doug Marsh. And right here, Love just can't stretch as number 36, Mike Davis, pulls him to the ground. They're only inches away, Jim Kelly.
Earl Farrell, Otis Anderson, Wayne Morris. 3 running backs in there now for the Cardinals. 1st and about a half a yard. Who else? O.J. Anderson and the Cardinals coming back from a 17-0 whitewash in the first quarter. That's got to be pleasing to that man, Jim Hannafin, who has done some kind of a job for the St. Louis Cardinals. He's in his 4th year as the head coach. Had St. Louis in the playoffs this year. A 6-7-1 record as we see it coming back starting out, but really 2 different seasons for Jim Hannafin. Lots of injuries, the suspension of E.J. Jr. They got off to a disastrous beginning, but they've only lost 2 of their last 8, and the Cardinals believe in that man.
And exactly right, and Jim Hannafin believes in his team also. If you look at the extra point block.
But there's a penalty flag down, so let's check that penalty. Howie Long, believe it or not, offside against the Raiders, so the Cardinals will get another chance.
Jim, just picking up on that theme about Hannafin and the Cardinals, you know, most of the teams outside of the 4 we just mentioned, the elite, are very close, and I think the Cardinals have some stars. They have the Lomaxes, the Otis Anderson, they have some good defensive players, they have Tilley, they have Roy Green. They're not far away from being competitive. The only problem is they're in the same division with Washington.
Defense, free kick.
And Dallas.
Out of the hold of Benny Perrin after the offside against the Raiders, Neil O'Donohue, who had that disastrous Monday night game, the 2020 tie with the New York Giants. Here come the Raiders again. Howie Long. Howie Long is pointing at one of the Cardinals and saying, look, there was a little bit of motion there. And he's 6'6", 275, and he did it, we are told by the Raider people, on peanut butter sandwiches, not on a weight program at Villanova. You know, when he came out of high school, he grew up just a couple of miles from the combat zone in Boston. You're familiar with that, having attended school at Harvard. And there were only 2 schools interested in Howie Long. Boston College was one, and Villanova was the other, and he chose Boston College because of their de-emphasis on the he chose Villanova because of the de-emphasis of the importance of football. He said, we bussed to all our games. We stayed in motor hotels, 4 or 5 in a room, no hot showers. We didn't have scouting reports. We didn't have films. And we already said he played in the same cleats for 4 years.
Right. And now he's making his living. It's kind of ironic that he wanted a de-emphasized program. Now he's making his living playing in the NFL and doing it so well, as we've mentioned before.
That touchdown by O.J. Anderson, his 4th of the year. And we'll try the extra point for the 3rd time, and it's a charm. Neil O'Donohue this time rams it on through. So we've got 9:58, and the Cardinals a bit of a comeback. They trailed 17-0 early. Right now their deficit is 10. They still have playoff possibilities. Doc, that would have to be a character-building drive for the Cardinals. They started at their own 6-yard line. You're behind 17-0. Would have been easy to just quit at that point.
Easily, but that is a good drive, no doubt about it. And now the defense has to set the tone. The offense has shown that they can move the ball, they can score against a very fine Raider defense. Now it's time for the defense to make something happen. An interception, a fumble, and then the Cards would be right back in this ball game.
Indeed, I think if the defense had been playing with the intensity of the offense, this would be a much different football game.
And it's a little surprising, Jim, because the defense has played well for the Cardinals, as you noted earlier.
Pruitt is back deep, but this will be Lee Montgomery at the 6-yard line. He breaks it across the 15, and look out. At the loose football at the 21, but I believe they're going to say the whistle had blown. Randy Love in there in the tackle. Montgomery, by the way, is the brother of Wilbert Montgomery, who, of course, is the star running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles, by the way, lost to the New Orleans Saints 2017 in overtime this afternoon, so New Orleans, believe it or not, still, like the Cardinals, has some slim playoff possibilities. Mr. Dockery.
How about this? Next Sunday, CBS Sports coverage of the NCAA basketball continues with an exciting matchup between Louisville Cardinals and the NC State Wolfpack. And Jim Valvano, of course, on Saturday that game. Valvano last year, they were the champions. They have another shot at it this year.
1st and 10 for the Raiders. A big explosion over that left side. Marcus Allen doing the running, but the blocking supplied by Dave Dalby in his 12th year out of UCLA. By the 7-year former All-American out of Alabama, Charlie Hanna, the brother of John Hanna, who's playing down the road at Anaheim, the Patriots taking on the Rams, and by Bruce Davis, number 79, also out of UCLA. 2nd and 4 from the 27. Big defensive series for the Cardinals. They've got to keep the Raiders off the board to get back into it. Branch wide to the left side. Barnwell out wide to the right side. Marcus Allen, convoy, student body right. 1st down as Allen just slithers up near the 34-yard line. In the grasp of Bubba Baker and Dave Galloway, but too little, too late.
Take a look at it from the end zone. Good blocking by the offensive line. Allen just takes the pitch. You see the line pulling out, leading the action out in front. That's Henry Lawrence, number 70. Nice cutback by Allen. Gets the 1st down.
You know, you look at Marcus Allen, he is really the first triple threat since Sammy Baugh.
Isn't it amazing? Out of the, he's thrown, there's his statistics today. He's thrown 3 touchdown passes of his 4 completions in 7 attempts.
He can run, he can catch, and he can pass. Also passing is Plunkett. He's got Barnwell at the 39, and he is driven backwards on perhaps the Cardinals' best defensive play so far by the rookie Lionel Washington, a 4th-round pick in '83. That man right there out of Tulane.
And you talk about Marcus Allen, and you have to think a long way back to the guys that were the triple threat guys. I mean, Frank Gifford, Paul Hornung, but there isn't one that I can think of in the NFL right now, Jim Kelly, except maybe your friend from Chicago, Walter Payton, does a little of that.
But I don't think he does it quite as well as this man, Marcus Allen. They don't really call on Payton to be in the offensive scheme quite as much. He doesn't throw the ball as much as Marcus, and he doesn't have the rifle arm that Marcus does. Marcus is a quarterback in high school. Plunkett will go up top on 2nd and 4. That's a 1st down to Christensen, the big tight end at the 45, and it's another 1st down for the Raiders.
And look at this, the Raiders, intimidators, always ready to do battle anytime. That's part of the way they win. That's part of the way they psych out their opponents. Here, Christensen going at it. What an intense player he is.
Todd Christensen in his 5th year out of BYU. Can you believe it? A free agent picked up by Al Davis, who just has a way to pick up the Howie Longs and the other fellows like Christensen. And this is what Jim Hannafin was talking about last night at our production meeting, the intimidation factor of the Raiders. And they give you that little extra pop, whether it's an offensive or a defensive play, after the whistle.
And that's the way Flores and company.
Number 46. Unsportsmanlike, number 51. First down.
Maybe the silliest flag in football. What it amounts to is a free fight.
A free fight, Kurt Alleman on defense and Todd Christensen on offense. But it's interesting. Take a look at it again. Christensen going over the middle, gets bumped. But here just finds the open zone, hooks between the linebackers, takes it down. Now watch after this. He actually got in the battle. We won't see it.
From the 45, 1st and 10 Raiders, they lead by 10. They may lead by more if Marcus Allen breaks that one around the right side. Out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Lionel Washington chased him out of bounds. The Raiders' offensive line, I think, is the difference in the football game. We talked about the Cardinals' offensive line being the key, but the Raider offensive line has taken total domination of the game.
They're a huge offensive line. Lawrence, number 70, 270. Mickey Marvin, also 270 pounds. Dalby, 255. Hanna, 260. Bruce Davis, 285. So they are big and strong. And, of course, a guy like Allen hides behind him, ducks between him, and makes the big yardage.
They don't feed that offensive line. They just take them to beef and brew, and then they hose them down. Another, well, second and the length of the football, and that is a first down over that right side. Frank Hawkins, 10th round pick in 81, having his best year for the Raiders.
Take a look at, excuse me, Jim, I was just going to say, take a look at number 50, the center, right there. Dave Dalby, second year out of UCLA. He's the one they go over. Right here, you see him working on Dave Galloway, number 65. He gets some help from Charlie Hanna. The first down.
Dave Dalby, 12th year out of UCLA, 6'3", 250. He's played now in 173 consecutive games. Dokie Williams, rookie, number 85, out wide to the right side. Grant to the near side. 1st and 10 Raiders. Marcus Allen just lopes away from a couple of the Cardinals. He was stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. Looked like it was going to be about a 3 or a 4-yard loss. Gave him the hip, took it away, and turned that loss into a pickup of about 4 yards.
We're talking to Marcus Allen yesterday. He's been a little bit frustrated. You saw him carrying the ball out away from his body. He already rushed for 49 yards and 11 attempts. Some fumble problems because he's been a little bit frustrated. Last year, it all seemed to come so easy, all of the yards. This year, they've been a little bit tougher, and he's been frustrated in trying for those extra yards, and he's coughed the ball up.
That's what he said. He said the fumbles were simply a result of frustration when he's trying to stretch it out for a couple of extra yards. 2nd and a long 5. Frank Hawkins. He breaks the tackle. Gets it down to the 35-yard line of the Cardinals. E.J. Jr. made the tackle, but again, the man who missed the tackle could have had him 3 or 4 yards further upfield.
This is so tough for a defensive player. Here, take a look at it. E.J. Jr. will be outside all by himself, one-on-one. Here, he squares himself up. There's a good fake. He bites some of it, but still holds on for the tackle. That's the toughest play in football, Jim, when you're head up on a good back in the open field.
Big 3rd down play for the Cardinals defensive front right now. They show 5 defensive backs. It's 3rd, a long 2. Branch to the left side. Marcus Allen. No problem, Marcus. Look out. Down at the 20. It's another Raider first down. Betty Perrin prevented a touchdown.
Jim, he's so comfortable. He said, I'm learning the system. I feel more comfortable with it. And here he shows that. Watch him. He glides, waits for a second for his blocking to evolve, and then just turns it on right there and gets the big yardage. That's being comfortable. Take a look at the blocks that made it happen. That big offensive line leading the way. But also, excuse me, Jim.
Mickey Marvin, and watch Christensen right there holding his block as well.
And Bruce Davis, number 79, but also Allen helping to set that up by not rushing through the hole, waiting, faking, and setting up the blocks.
1st and 10 Raiders. Motion Christensen, top of the screen. Cardinals changed their defensive alignment, and a great defensive play by Curtis Greer in his 4th year out of Michigan. Number 1 draft pick in 1980 of the Cardinals. He has 11.5 quarterback sacks. Kind of a quiet-spoken guy around the hotel last night.
Very much so. And if you're going to be a complete running back, you also have to block. Marcus Allen here, not blocking his man. Greer just pushes him aside. A very poor effort. Greer makes the big play.
You know, Greer was a little bit upset reading the Los Angeles papers. His coach, Jim Hannafin, had to say about Howie Long. Hannafin said Howie Long is the best defensive end in professional football. Greer was kind of sulking around the lobby last night.
Not only that, he said, wait till I show this to Al Bubba Baker.
Marcus Allen chopped down at the 19, so it'll bring up 3rd and long for the Los Angeles Raiders, who lead 17-7.
Excuse me, Jim. Lee Nelson, a strong safety, made a good read, shot the gap, and made the tackle.
So it's 3rd and long, and again, it's a big defensive series. Around the NFL today, Kansas City falling behind by the same score we've got here, 17-7. San Diego is down the road.
Wow, that's a surprise.
I would say so. John Elway having a rough afternoon against the team he refused to go to play for. And just down the road in Anaheim, Eric Dickerson and the Rams putting it to New England 7-0 early. Wide receivers left and right. Barnwell to the right side, Branch to the left. They need 10, the Raiders do. Touchdown. That was simply a bad defensive play by E.J. Jr., who turned his back and had no idea where the ball was coming from or where his man was going to.
Jim, this is a bad situation defensively, scheme-wise, when you get a linebacker like E.J. Jr. one-on-one on a Marcus Allen. And you're right, Jr. does not play the ball. He's playing the man. Had he looked up, he might have been able to bat it away. But that, Jim, that's something you want to avoid as a defensive team. Marcus Allen will beat E.J. Jr. 9 times out of 10 on a one-on-one situation.
Out of the hold of David Hum, Chris Barr has his 3rd extra point of the first half. He's got a field goal. He's got 6 points, but the Raiders have got a huge lead against the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals ball when we come back. Time remaining in the first half in what is going to be a long afternoon for the Cardinals unless they can start to play some defense. Jim Plunkett is simply picking them apart. 10 of 12 in the passing department, 157 yards for Plunkett, 3 touchdown passes in the first half. Barr, boots of beauty, stumped Mitchell. 5 yards deep, will run it out. And not get back to the 20-yard line. Questionable judgment.
Very questionable. I guess you have to take your opportunity, though, Jim. He's hoping for a big play, possibly to break it.
So we've got 3:04 left to go in the first half. The Cardinals trying the comeback trail. They're down by 17. Jim Kelly, John Dockery, welcome back to the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Cardinals trail by 17. You saw the time left in the first half. They need a touchdown. Underneath the safety valve, O.J. Anderson will break it big. 23-yard pickup for Neil Lomax and O.J. Anderson. Now, you could see the indecision on Lomax. He wanted to go deep, but this was the touchdown.
This was a touchdown. You see E.J. Jr. and the Cardinals have 6 defensive backs in the game. Why they wouldn't put a defensive back on Allen, Marcus Allen right here, I don't understand. But there, E.J. Jr. never looks for the ball. Allen beats him easily for the touchdown. It's a mismatch, Jim Kelly.
Anytime you get that running back on a linebacker, but when you get a Heisman Trophy winner, you got a danger zone. 1st and 10 for the Cardinals after that 23-yard pickup. Marsh in motion, top of your screen. Lomax, badly thrown ball, actually closer to one of the Raiders, looking in the general direction of Roy Green, but he threw it over Green's head, and Van McElroy, 2nd year out of Baylor, former All-American and a 3rd-round draft pick back in 1982, closer to the ball.
When you think about Neil Lomax playing against this fine defensive team, it's really been a gradual development for Lomax now in his 3rd year. 1981, he had 4 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. 1982, in the short season, Jim, he had 5 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Coming into this game, 20 touchdowns, only 10 interceptions. That's the mark of a quarterback who's growing.
Not much you can do on 2nd and long when you're playing power football over the middle and you're down by 17 points. I don't understand it.
It is hard to understand. Lomax is going to have to take this game in his hands. When you're down 24-7, Jim Hannafin knows it. You have to throw out the game plan. He wasn't going to be conservative coming in. He told us that he was going to put the ball up, and he felt he had to get the ball to Green and Tilley in order to win. They haven't been doing it, so they're losing 24-7.
Back again at the Coliseum, you see the score and the time left in our game. The Raiders up big over the Cardinals. Meanwhile, at Texas Stadium, Redskins leading Dallas by a score of 14-7, but the Cowboys have the football, and they've got it at the Redskins' 40-yard line. Scores and highlights with Brent Musburger at halftime. Right now, the Cardinals looking at third and a long 8 from the shotgun. Lomax will look for Roy Green. He's got Roy Green. Green will break it at the 50-yard line, and he picks up the first down at the 48-yard line of the Raiders in the grasp of Mike Davis.
Take a look at it from the end zone. And next, we were just saying Roy Green has been very quiet. Here they go to the shotgun. They're telling everybody we're going to throw the ball. Gets a little more time for Lomax. The blitz is coming. A good pickup. Roy Green makes the intercept. The reception and a good tackle by Mike Davis prevents him from going a little further. So a good pickup by the back from the St. Louis Cardinals. The blitz was on. You saw Randy Love pick up the blitzing linebacker.
No way, you're looking at Roy Green. After his first game as a receiver, he caught one for 60 yards. We'll pick up on that in a second. Meanwhile, 1st and 10, and Lomax will go up top for Roy Green. Green incomplete, but a penalty flag is down. 1st and goal, St. Louis. Mike Davis all over the back of Roy Green.
Roy Green is the big play man for the St. Louis Cardinals. We don't have to say that. He already has 13 touchdowns. Here they try to go downtown. He has great speed. And remember, he just...
We were talking about this man, Roy Green. He started out as a 5th defensive back in the Cardinals' defensive secondary. He started then at wide receiver against the Dallas Cowboys. He caught a 60-yard pass in that game. The next game he came back, he caught 4 passes for 115 yards against the Redskins, and he still played defense in that game. And he had one of the rare treats of picking off a Joe Theismann pass. So he caught a touchdown pass, and he intercepted a pass in the same game.
And Jim Kelly, a very questionable call. Mike Davis running with Roy Green. They're both stretching out for the ball. He may have bumped him. Then again, they both might have been going for the ball. Very close call.
1st and goal for the Cardinals. Slot formation to the left side. O.J. Anderson in the backfield. Lomax bending in. Here come the Raiders. There goes O.J. Almost a dangerous play, Doc. He had that football out there in the left arm.
And the guy who made that play was McElroy, number 26, by cutting off O.J. to the outside, forcing him to come back inside. The pursuit came across. You saw Greg Townsend, number 93. Take a look at it again. Otis has got great speed. Look to the left of your screen, number 26. Watch him contain just the way he's supposed to do. Now, he doesn't make the tackle, but he forces O.J. to slow down, and the pursuit gets him.
24-7 our score here in the first half. That much for a Cardinal touchdown, trying desperately to close the deficit to 10 points. Lomax to Marsh. Marsh bumped out of bounds at the 2-yard line in the grasp of Van McElroy. All-American out of Baylor, who has 7 interceptions. Penalty flag is down in the Cardinal backfield. Let's check the call. Looks like it might be against the Raiders.
Take a look at this. Lomax throws the ball, and he is clobbered by the Raiders after he throws the ball right there. And that looks like the penalty. Marsh can't get in the end zone. McElroy again, a strong tackle.
Roughing the passer, number 56, hit in the head. 1st down.
Boy, you know, when you play defensive back, you don't want to see that tight end coming out at you. You did that for a lot of years.
Oh, I know. He's so big and strong. The problem is, take a look at it again. Number 56, Jeff Barnes, goes up high to the face with his hands. That's the reason it was called. Jim, had he hit him a little bit lower, I don't think there would have been a penalty. That's the style of the Raiders, though. I'm going to hit you if I can.
1st and goal. Play action. Lomax. Touchdown. Doug Marsh, the tight end out of Michigan. And the Cardinals, offensively at least, showing an awful lot of character. Again, another long scoring drive. Their first one was 94 yards. This one capped off on a 1-yard scoring strike from Lomax to the tight end, Doug Marsh.
Good read by Lomax. And watch the soft hands. Marsh just puts those hands up, catches it very casually, gets the touchdown, puts the Cards back in this game, 24-13. Lomax under pressure impressed me. He was able to get the read and find Marsh open in the end zone.
You know, if Coach Hannafin can talk to the defense at all and get them to play some kind of intensity, as when it rains, it pours. Neil O'Donohue misses the extra point, but again, a penalty flag is down. Want to bet it's offside, Raiders?
How about Howie Long? What do you think?
Howie Long is not eating peanut butter sandwiches. He's eating the left side of that Cardinal offensive line.
Here they go. Howie's going, hey, come on, Neil. Think about it again. Yeah, we may have been offsides, but you're going to miss the next one. They've been doing this for so many years, you almost have to laugh.
Number 83, re-kick.
It was 83, Ted Hendricks' time.
With Howie Long to the rescue. 21 ticks left on the clock. So wait a minute, I didn't do anything. I said it at the beginning. They don't pay bonuses for the Raiders. They pay bail money. Out of the hole to Perrin. Snap is high. And a kick is blocked. You can't advance a blocked extra point attempt, so it will remain a 24-13 game. The scoreboard here had anticipated the extra point. They had already put it up.
This is incredible. O'Donoghue has had a horrendous year. All of those problems. The snap was high, in fairness to him. There's the block from the outside. It was Jeff Barnes, number 56.
As we watch Howie Long, well, we'll talk about Howie Long when we come back. In the meantime, 21 seconds left to go. Raiders lead by 11. Squib kick by Neil O'Donoghue with time expiring in the first half. Raiders will start from their own 36-yard line, 1st and 10. Let's see how Tom Flores and Jim Plunkett will elect to play it right now. And again, the tempers are flaring. And again, a penalty flag comes down again. In the middle of the mix is Matt Millen, the veteran linebacker out of Penn State, number 55. Meanwhile, Texas Stadium, Irving, Texas, Cowboys have the ball inside the 20-yard line of the Washington Redskins. Redskins clinging to that 14-7 lead. Be a long afternoon for our referee, Fred Wyatt. Be a longer afternoon for that man if he doesn't get his defense on track.
Interesting as you look at Tom Flores along the sidelines that Jim Hannafin told us that he didn't want his team to back off, but he also didn't want his team to be so distracted by the intimidating characteristics of the Raiders that they'd lose distraction.
Personal foul, number 45, 1st down.
Number 45 is Leonard Smith, the rookie out of McNeese State. That's the second personal foul on Leonard so far this afternoon. And really, I think, John, it changes the complexion of things now. You've got Plunkett, who has had a field day passing the football, 3 touchdown passes, 18 seconds left to go, and it's already across midfield. I don't think they'll sit on the ball.
The Raiders seldom sit on the ball. They're very aggressive offensively and defensively. That's one of their trademarks.
Allen motion to the left. Barnes and Barnwell out wide to the right side. Plunkett looks for somebody. The ball is picked off and then dropped. Curtis Greer had it picked up. That's a free football. That is number 78, Grooms. That is a touchdown, St. Louis. There are no flags. Curtis Greer forced the fumble. Bubba Baker came in from the other side. And the bodybuilder, number 78, Elias Grooms, carries it in for a Cardinal touchdown.
And there is joy in St. Louis. We talked about them sitting on it. Maybe the Raiders should have sat on it. Instead, Plunkett goes right back to pass, showing the arrogance of a good team, saying, I want more points before the half ends. Here he is. Watch this. Greer on the rush. There's big Bubba Baker. Gets his hand on the arm, on the ball. Greer almost intercepts it. Instead, it bounces around. And then Grooms, a 9th-year man out of Tennessee, picks it up, and he's off to the races for a touchdown. Cardinals back in this ball game.
Now we come to what has become the most interesting point of the football game. The attempt for the extra point. Raiders have been offsides. They've had all sorts of problems. This one is up, and it's good.
Not necessarily artistic, but it was good. A knuckleball.
Well, you remember what Jim Hannafin said when he talked about artistry and whether it's pretty or not after the game against the Giants last week? He said, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss anytime.
And the same thing with an extra point. He'll take that one. It wasn't exactly beautiful, but it was there.
So the Cardinals score 2 touchdowns in a space of just 12 seconds. And are right back in this football game, despite the fact that Jim Plunkett has thrown for 3 touchdowns, and it was total domination by the Raiders in the first quarter, and midway through the second stanza as well. We've got a 4-point Raider lead and just 6 seconds left to go before intermission here in Los Angeles. Meanwhile, as they approach intermission at Texas Stadium, Cowboys have the ball 1st and 10 at the 12-yard line of the Redskins, and Washington holds on to that 14-7 lead.
Whew. It's hot down in Irving, Texas. We'll keep you posted on that.
Scores and highlights coming up with Brennan Irv at halftime, and John and I will explore the playoff possibilities from around the NFL in the second half. We check those early games and update all of the late games as well.
And Jim, you have the definitive answer on all the tiebreakers in the NFL. I understand you're going to do that in the second half. I'm looking forward to it.
58 seconds left to go, we are told now, for
as he ignores me.
First half. I'm not even sure I understand the playoff possibilities of this game, let alone the other 19 teams that are still in contention. 58 seconds left to go in that Redskin-Dallas first half, and it's 14-7 Washington. This is Matt Millen, who will bull his way to the 33 with just 1 second left on the clock, and now time runs out. Meanwhile, Danny White has just had a touchdown pass dropped by Tony Hill in Dallas. That would have tied it up They were looking at 3rd and 12, so Septien is coming in for a field goal try. But Tony Hill was wide open, and it would have been a tie football game at Texas Stadium. Meanwhile, back at the Los Angeles Coliseum, that was good. We went 30 minutes before one of us did, right? 24-20, Doc.
And there's Jim Hannaford. Has to be happy with his team because they weren't intimidated. They were down 17-0, but yet, Jim, they came back. A big play by the defense. We talked about it early.
So we're at halftime here in Los Angeles, 24-20. Scores and highlights with Brennan Irv coming up. Stay tuned. The NFL Today continues after this word from your local station.